Hello, everyone. My name is Ishaq Fatan. I'm the Bay Area Director at Islamic Networks Group, also known as ING. Today, we'll be discussing Ramadan, school, and COVID-19. For those of you who don't know, ING is a peacemaking organization dedicated to face-to-face education and engagement to foster understanding of Muslims and other misunderstood groups to promote harmony among all people. We've done several series on Facebook Live so far, and this is now an extension of our INGYouth program, which builds the capacity of Muslim teens and young adults to provide education among Muslims, about Muslims and their faith and related topics to middle and high schools, as well as to colleges and other community groups. So for this webinar, we have an exciting array of guests who are all either in or graduates of the INGYouth program. They include Aliza, a 10th grade student in California, Benefshe, an 11th grade student in California, Huda, a 10th grade student in Pennsylvania, Omar, a second year college student in Illinois, and Saram, a 12th grade student in Texas. And so for the purpose of this, we are basically going to have an informal conversation with our panelists here. So before we get started on the meat of the topic here, I just want to get a sense, how are you all doing and how is your family in this time? So Aliza, would you mind sharing a little bit?
At first it was a little hard to adjust to all of our schedules and kind of aligning them, but I do wish I had more time to focus on the spiritual aspect of Ramadan, but it's nice to just spend time with my family during this time.
That's great. What about you, Benefsha?
We're all kind of getting used to it, trying to adjust to online school and trying to stay in touch with friends, even though we can't see them anymore. It's nice to have time to work on my art projects or writing projects, so I'm definitely enjoying that aspect as well.
Gotcha. And Huda?
Yeah, it's been a little bit hard adjusting to this. My mom's a healthcare worker, so it's a little bit nervous whenever she goes to work each day. But thankfully, she's been safe and healthy, and so have the rest of us. But yeah, I do miss seeing my friends and hanging out. But it's been really nice to spend a lot of time with family at home.
Yeah, that's great. And thank you to your mother and all of the other workers out there who are really putting their lives on the line to help us all. What about you, Omar?
So actually, I'm back in California to visit my family while this is happening. So this is the first time I'm doing college back home. So it's quite interesting, but it's also nice to be home for Ramadan.
Gotcha. And Sarah?
Well, I'm doing good. It's a little weird, because I was thinking about this the other day. I always fantasize about having this kind of schedule, about, having more free time and whatnot. But now that I'm here, I kind of want to go back to that schedule. So it's a little weird, this pickle I'm in. But all in all, it's great. Alhamdulillah, and I'm really happy to be here today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think sometimes we don't really understand the idea of if things stop and you change schedules, everything else stops as well. So it means that no one can go anywhere. I know that some of you are taking classes online now. And so what are some of the challenges you're experiencing while you've moved to online education? Aliza, can you start us off with that?
Yeah, my school definitely had some trouble shifting to be online, and there was a lot of miscommunication going around at first. So they kind of have been sticking to just simple agendas. And so my teachers haven't really been pushing out new information, but they just put out content that we're supposed to self-study and use to complete assignments. It's kind of hard for students who don't have the time or the health or just the household conditions to self-study. But luckily they voted on having a credit, no credit policy, which gives everyone a fair chance to get the same credit that everyone is getting. So it's really nice that they're accommodating for us.
Gotcha. And Omar, you're a college student, and now I'm assuming you're taking classes online as well, as you mentioned.
So the interesting thing about college is that they give you a lot more freedom than high school, which is good on one end because you kind of set your own schedule, but on the other end, it also requires a lot more discipline. And being home means that discipline is kind of out the window, especially since it's Ramadan. So for me, the challenge is being able to set a regimen and being able to listen to my classes when I'm supposed to and do the homework that I'm supposed to do, even while staying at home.
Sure, makes sense. And Huda, you attend an online school. I mean, you've been attending an online school for the past, 3 years, I assume?
No, since first grade, actually.
First grade. So,
yeah.
So how has that been for you, seeing everyone else work that way? And what is the structure of your online school?
Well, since a lot of schools and colleges have switched to online learning, my brother is also, he goes to Temple, but he's back home and he's taking classes online. It's been really cool to see everybody switch to an online school and kind of experience what online schoolers experience. So our structure is very similar to a regular brick and mortar school. We have 5 periods a day, 1 period being lunch, and live classes from Monday through Thursday. And then Friday is kind of a day for office hours where students can go to their teachers and ask for extra help based on what we learned for the week. So honestly, I really enjoy online school, and it's just been really cool to see the community grow due to this experience. But yeah, it's been really nice.
Great, thank you. And as we mentioned earlier with the topic, and I know a lot of you all have mentioned the idea of Ramadan. For everyone who doesn't know, we're in the month of Ramadan. Omar, would you mind telling our audience a little bit about the significance of this month to Muslims?
Sure. So Ramadan is a month in the Islamic calendar in which Muslims commemorate the revelation of the Quran by fasting from food and water between dawn and sunset. The goal is generally to build willpower, to improve one's character, to be charitable as much as possible, to help others in need, which has special meaning this year. The fast of Ramadan is one of the 5 pillars of Islam, which this year began on Friday, the 24th of April, which is like 2 weeks ago. And it will end during Memorial Day weekend with a holiday called Eid al-Fitr, or Festival of the Fast Breaking. Ordinarily, Muslims spend this month in community with family and friends, breaking the fast in the company of others, and attending like nightly worship at the mosque. But since we have COVID, this Ramadan has its own challenges. If you want to wish a Muslim happy holidays during this month, you say Ramadan Mubarak, which in translation literally means, may you have a blessed Ramadan.
Gotcha, thank you. And so in transitioning from, a time where students are eating to a time where students are not eating, what advice do some of you have for students on what they can do to notify their teachers that they're fasting, and what accommodations they might look for during this month? And Eliza, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think it's really important that our teachers know that we're fasting and our household conditions are changing, and especially not being able to see them face to face. It's so important to communicate your needs. And I think that can be best communicated clearly through an email. Just last week, I sent a letter through an email to my principal about Ramadan, and she really appreciated it and forwarded it to all of staff. And in the email, just make sure that you're identifying the main problems that students are having. I was able to talk to my Muslim peers, and we kind of just discussed about what the problems that we were all having, and we kind of identified the main problem. For us, it was that a lot of teachers were pushing out assignments in the afternoon, and then they're due 11:59 the same day, which we know that isn't conducive to our Ramadan schedules. And so being able to ask for accommodations in that email is really important. So I asked our teachers to make sure that they're putting out assignments before 7 a.m. and then extending the deadlines if we need that. And so that fasting students just have the energy and the time that they need, whether that's in the day or in the night, because everyone has different work ethics. So after I sent out that email, many teachers reached out to me to thank me for the letter and to let me know that they're doing the best that they can to accommodate. And so just being there to inform and communicate your needs to your teachers is really important.
Yeah, that is amazing. And that's amazing that you took the initiative to actually reach out to the principal. And it's amazing that she was able to then communicate that to the rest of the teachers. So not only are you benefiting, but all of the Muslim students that are at your school observing the holiday are also now benefiting from this experience. Thanks also for sharing a little bit about some of the challenges that are unforeseen as we move to online education with Ramadan. Omar, would you mind sharing a little bit about what you think students can do to help ask their teachers about this?
Sure. So I have 2 main things that I'm going to talk about. The first thing is I think you should be compassionate with yourself. I know, like, especially Muslims, we try to try as hard as we can in school, try to do as best as we can. But professors and teachers, especially now, are very willing to give like Ramadan related extensions, or to let it be easier on you while you're fasting. So I've asked my teachers multiple times during this month, both this year and in previous years, to, like, for example, like give me a week extension on an assignment that's going to be due at an important time in Ramadan, if it's due in like the last 10 nights, or to let me not have to go to a certain class meeting because it's at the time of iftar or the time of suhoor, since the time difference. So be very compassionate with yourself. It's totally okay to take a seat back, and professors and teachers are very willing to let you do that. The second thing that I've been able to do and that I would recommend other people who are facing a similar challenge do is, especially with Zoom, ask for your participation to be like discredited or to be replaced with something else. So it's very hard for me to wake up at like 9 a.m. after waking up for suhoor and try to be very interactive in class meetings. So I've told my professors that I'm not going to be very participatory. Instead, they've allowed me to like type up participation things and submit them for a participation grade instead. So that's something that I would recommend that people try doing instead.
That's great. And we've shared a little bit about Ramadan, but students also may have the ability to do that as well. So Huda, what would you say students can do to help their teachers understand the time of the year?
Yeah, so a great idea students can take is that they can actually volunteer to share information with their teachers and fellow students about the month of Ramadan, and that would be really helpful for everybody to learn what this month is about and what it means to Muslims.
Great, and that is an amazing idea. And so if a student wanted to present about Ramadan, how might they approach their teacher, and what resources do they have available?
So ING actually has two really amazing resources. They have INGYouth presentations, and there is one that is specifically about Ramadan. And then they also have INGYouth answers to FAQs. So the presentation is about Ramadan is really amazing because it talks about some of the main facts about Ramadan, why Muslims celebrate it, and some things that students and teachers can do to accommodate fasting students at their school, which is really, really neat and awesome for everybody to learn about Ramadan. And the answers to FAQs are also really important because they talk about a lot of questions that Muslims get asked a lot, and sometimes we really don't know how to answer. So the FAQs are a very brief summary of an answer that Muslim students are able to give to their peers about some of the questions that they may ask. There are also a lot of different presentations available on the INGYouth website. And so for me, I was actually able to give a presentation at my school, which was a really cool experience. So I emailed my teacher about the idea of presenting in a virtual assembly because I attend an online school. So I shared with her the link to the presentation so she and her higher ups could review it. Once everything was reviewed, we were able to set a date and time for the presentation. So for the agenda, I was able to present, and then we had a Q&A after. And it was really cool because we had an open discussion with the students, and they were able to ask questions about what I presented, but also my experience as a teenage Muslim in the US. And so students were able to not only ask their questions, but also share their comments on what I had presented and their experience with Muslims in Islam. So it was a really, really cool and fulfilling experience.
Great, thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah, and I will elaborate at the end of the webinar on a few other resources, especially for educators that they can use during this time. Another challenge that students might have while fasting is taking exams. And so Benefsha, would you be able to tell us a little bit about how you navigate taking exams while fasting, especially things like the AP tests, which are standard across the country?
Sure. So because my school has switched to online learning, our tests now just open up for an entire day and we're free to take them at any point during the day. So what I've been trying to do is I've been trying to review closer to the morning when I'm still fresh and I've just woken up and I feel I'm not too hungry yet. And so I'll review my material then, and then I'll take a nap a little like early afternoon. And then once I wake up from that, I will just take the test then. It's obviously it's not ideal, but we're just doing the best that we can. And for the AP tests, the one good thing is that they're a lot shorter this year. So only 45 minutes long, which means that it's going to be easier to concentrate for that like short of a period of time. And mine are relatively early in the morning, which means that I won't be as tired or hungry or thirsty at that point. So I honestly, at this point, I'm just planning on getting a good night's sleep and studying as much as I can before, and then just praying and making dua. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely is challenging, but it seems like the schedule that you have is something that really would work in relation to this time. Okay, so now we're going to transition away from school information to more things relating to extracurriculars. So I know that one thing that students struggle with, and if anyone has any questions, please feel free to write them in the chat. I know that one thing that students struggle with when they are fasting is managing sports and other physical activities. And so I would love to hear from some of you about the ways in which you play sports, and then how you stay active while fasting during this month. So Sarum, could you start on that?
Sure. So people who know me know that I always grew up loving and being sports and being a big sports fanatic. So obviously Ramadan places its limitations on that, being not able to, go as intense as you want to, or do, because due to limitations, of hunger and thirst and whatnot. But I remember one story in particular was in freshman year, high school, like football summer conditioning was during the month of Ramadan. So I know that I spoke to the coaches, and they're very, in general, people are really accommodating if you explain to them what's going on. So it's one way I personally found out that it's really helpful is that if you talk to individuals who are, the higher up and explain what the situation is, they're more than likely willing to help, help you out in what way that is possible for them. And they're generally really understanding. And personal, day to day, currently with the whole quarantine and whatnot, I still try to stay active and whatnot. Like for instance, after each prayer, I'll do some push-ups, or if I'm doing some work and I need a break, I'll just go to the side and start doing a 1-minute plank once in a while, walk out, just so just take a little walk around the neighborhood to keep myself from losing my mind or whatnot. Another great thing that I found out is that for people who also play sports or whatnot, at the time that I think is really great to play sports, and that I've been personally doing, is that I'll play basketball about an hour and a half or so prior to iftar time. I know it's a great time because it's right before sunset, or not, it's before the sun has gone down, so it's not as warm outside, and even if you are thirsty and whatnot, you are able to break your fast shortly after. And another great plus point is that it's a great way to clean up your diet. So if you want to lose weight, or you want to make sure you start eating healthier, now's the time to do so.
Great, thank you, Sarum. And Vanessa, I know you're also an athlete. What are some of the new habits you've adopted this month?
So I competitively swim year round, and so this month is always a challenge for me. But because I've been trying, I have to maintain my muscle mass and honestly build it up. So what I've been doing is that I talk to my coach. We have workouts that he sends, and so what I'll do is I'll wake up before suhoor. I will do a workout then, and then eat, and then go to sleep, right? And then again, a little before iftar, I will also exercise a little bit more, and then I'll eat, and then maybe rest or hang out with my family, and then I'll do another workout. So it's all about just spacing them out, I guess, and being smart about where you're putting your exercise so that you're not getting overwhelmed with the amount of energy you're expending, but you're just trying to take it little by little.
Great, thank you. And do you have any diet changes that you do to kind of keep up with all the workouts that you're doing?
I try to drink a lot of water, and I've been trying to, your stomach kind of gets used to not eating as much, but I really try and make up for the amount of energy that I'm spending in what I'm eating for dinner and for breakfast every day.
Great, thank you. This is another opportunity for those watching to post their questions in the chat. Another question I'm wondering, which is, I guess you guys have not prepared for, so anyone can jump in, but it's something along the lines of how do your schedules change during Ramadan? Bearing in mind that you have some certain things, certain structures in there where you have to eat at this time and you can stop eating at this time. Do you make any general schedule adjustments now that you're taking classes online and have that flexibility? I don't know if Sarum, you want to comment on this?
Sure, I can speak on this. So personally, one thing I've been doing is that I've been trying to do and it's difficult at first, but I feel like if you get into routine, it's really helpful. Is that after we do eat our suhoor and pray fajr, I try and stay up after and not sleep immediately after. I feel like that's the time I'm like the most productive. I can get a lot of my work done for the day. And then I usually try and just go straight into class afterwards. So if classes for me personally start at like 7:30, 8 a.m., whatnot, I'll just stay up and then go through class and try and finish as much of the work prior to the start of class. That way, after like class, when I tend to feel more hungry and I tend to feel more exhausted, I've done most of the bulk of the work that I need to do so. And then in the evening or in the afternoon, I'll take a short nap, wake up. That will give me like another kickstart that I need to continue and make up any work or finish any work that I have, and just carry on with my day from there on.
Gotcha. Anyone else want to chime in on this question?
Yeah, I think at the start of quarantine, or when we had to like start sheltering in place, it was really hard for me to adjust my schedule, and I would do most of my work at night and kind of sleep like late. But now that Ramadan started, I don't have as much of the night as I would wish. I only had like I have to stop doing my work around 7:30 because that's when I have to go downstairs and help my mom. And then after that, we read Maghrib and we pray Maghrib. And then my family does this thing where we kind of talk about something that we learned. And that just ends up taking a lot of time. So now I have to wake up a little earlier and kind of push through the day and do my work. So it's kind of hard to, change my work ethic because I always thought I worked a lot better at night. But it's starting to change. So just being able to recognize where you work best is really important.
Thanks, Eliza. Anyone else? Okay, and I am not seeing any questions in the chat, so we will go ahead and ask our final question for the evening, which is, what are you looking forward to as we move through Ramadan? What goals do you have? As we mentioned, this is a time where Ramadan is a time where spirituality and community is something that's really prevalent, and we've kind of eliminated the community aspect. So has that enabled you to focus a little bit more on your personal spirituality or anything like that? So we're going to start with Benefshay, and then we'll move on.
So this year, because we're not like physically in school, I'm sort of looking forward to, and I have been enjoying, enjoying fasting like while I'm doing it. There aren't that many distractions, which means that it's a little more intense for me, I guess, because usually during school I'm distracted, I have friends there, and this year it's more like I really have I have a lot of time to think about it and not get distracted by other things, and really just read the Quran and spend time with my family and really think about what I'm supposed to be experiencing right now.
Gotcha, that's great, thank you. What about you, Huda?
Yeah, so my mom, sister, and I started to do something really cool this Ramadan. We pick an ayah of the Quran that we have read that we found interesting, and we read on the tafsir or the commentary of it. And then we present it to one another, and we try to take a practical lesson from that ayah to apply in our lives. So that's been one of our goals this year for Ramadan, is to try to apply the Quran into our daily lives, since a lot of the times we just read it without truly understanding it. So it's been really beneficial because we have so much time at home to really understand the Quran and really apply it in our lives. And it's been really special this Ramadan to be able to do that.
That's great. And Ramadan is the month of the Quran. And so being able to connect by reading a verse of the Quran each day is something that seems really great.
Yeah.
What about you, Omar?
Kind of on a similar idea as Huda, me and two of my friends decided that since we can't actually have suhoors with each other in college and Ramadan this year, instead we're just going to try to do a Quran competition. So we're trying to see who can read the most. And then we're discussing like whatever we've read at the end of the week via video chat.
That's awesome.
Currently, I'm in last place, but stay tuned. Hopefully.
We're all rooting for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. What about you, Sarah?
So at the start of Ramadan, one of the main goals I had was to try and memorize more Quran, try and do a little bit day by day. I can't really say I've been successfully keeping up with that goal. I need to work a little bit more on that, but just more, another goal, a large goal I had was just focus more on with family and just personal worship and whatnot. Now that I have more free time and really able to utilize that time in a manner which I wasn't able to do so before.
Gotcha. And Aliza, we'll end with you on this question.
Yeah, I've definitely been reading a lot more Quran, like everybody said, because we are always at home, and then like I don't have that much time to just waste either getting home from school or going to my extracurriculars. So I try to read as much Quran as I can, and I'm just looking forward to being able to talk about that with my family, and we all just have a lot of conversations about Islam that we've never really had before, and it's really great to just be able to communicate with them.
Yeah. I'm really seeing a trend as well in terms of all of you taking this time to connect a little bit more with your family. I think Ramadan can be a time where we're with friends or with others, and now being that we have very few people that we can interact with on a personal level. So you making the most of that is really great. Thank you so much to all of you for sharing your thoughts and your evening with us. To tell our audiences a little bit more about what are ways that students can approach Ramadan, and what advice they can get from you all, and what teachers can know as well. So to conclude, just so Omar mentioned this earlier, but Ramadan ends with a major holiday known as Eid al-Fitr, or Festival of Breaking the Fast. This year, Eid will be on a weekend, which is either May 24th or May 25th, a Saturday or Sunday. But we do recommend that teachers acknowledge the holiday the week after, and they can wish their students the traditional greeting, which is Eid Mubarak, which means have a blessed holiday. And as I mentioned earlier, I would provide a little bit more resources that teachers and educators can use. So I'm just going to share my screen here. Yep, there we go. And so we have several resources for educators, as you can see on the slide. One of them is an adult presentation on Ramadan. Huda earlier mentioned the youth version. There is a slightly longer version for adults that talks a little bit about employment as well as education. We have a Ramadan information sheet, and that's when you can also go to learn a little bit more about the ins and outs of Ramadan, in addition to the holiday Eid that follows it. We have adult answers to FAQs, where you can learn a little bit more about all information relating to Muslims and Islam. We have a 5-year calendar of important Islamic dates. This is an educator's dream because you can plan out your years with a lot of these holidays, a lot of these important dates for Muslims in mind. And so that would at least have you be able to put Eid on the calendar at the beginning of the year and perhaps plan something around that when it comes around. We have religious practices for Muslim students in schools, a document on that where you can learn a little bit more about the practices that some of our students have talked about, including praying and fasting, and learn about ways that teachers and schools can accommodate. And there's always opportunities to ask for presentations or panels for your school or your house of worship or your business. All of these teens that are here are able to also deliver presentations. And so if you wouldn't want an adult to come in, but you would want someone from a younger demographic to come in, then they are also able to do that. And you can see all of that on our website, ing.org. For those of you who are interested in the youth program and to join the youth program, you can write to me. My email is there. It's ishaq, ishaq, @ing.org. And finally, we have one other webinar coming up on Thursday at this same time, 3:30 to 4:30 Pacific Standard. And that will be Ramadan School and COVID-19 Part 2. It's really dedicated to educators. We'll be featuring 2 educators on the webinar, and we'll talk a little bit more about accommodations that educators can keep in mind and work with when they're creating inclusive classrooms for their Muslim students. So with that, we're going to go ahead and end. Again, I want to thank all of you for watching. I want to thank our panelists here for taking time out of your busy school schedules to share this time with us. And thank you all again. Have a great rest of your evening.